Okay, I want to do my November update. And this is a very powerful month. Obviously, we have the election going. But what's even more powerful is it's happening the beginning of this month right on a new moon. It's a very powerful new moon. Why? It's happening in a lunar mansion called Swati or Swati. And what's powerful about that is it's ruled by Venus, but also Rahu. Rahu is the moon's north node, always means secret stuff going on. Of course, there wouldn't be any of that going on during an election, would there? And what's so powerful is Jupiter is 8th from the moon. So you always look at where the new moon happens in a Vedic astrology chart, and you compare where all the planets are in relationship to the new moon. So the moon is very central in Nadi and Vedic astrology. It also is in the West as well. So this is very powerful. Why? Because it sets a new tone. And I like this lunar mansion because it has a lot to do with intelligence, and it also has a lot to do with secret things behind the scenes. So this is really appropriate for this election that's coming up right here on the 5th. So we also have the Saturn trining this moon. So very powerful energy that helps set up this election. And we're going to see what's going to happen here. And I have made a prediction before based on an interrogation that was cast that this really looks like it's going to lean towards Trump. Now, I think that's going to be highly contested. I see a lot of trouble coming up between now and November as a result of that. And we're going to talk more about that as we get into December. But I can tell you, we have a Mars-Pluto opposition right before the election. That's going to happen on the 3rd. And of course, that'll be at 3:37 a.m. Pacific time. All the times I give are always Pacific time. And we got daylight savings changing this Sunday, which we have to set our clocks back to normal. So that is going to actually also bring us into the Sun trine the Saturn, which is going to happen the next day on the 4th, which is Monday, just before Election Day. So that's a very powerful energy as well. Why? Because every time the Sun trines one of the outer planets, they're either getting ready to station and go direct, or they're stationing and going retrograde. This time, Saturn's stationing and going direct, which Saturn's direct motion will actually happen on November 15th at 6:20 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, because we'll be off daylight savings at that time. So a lot of energies shifting here. And of course, we're going to see, no matter what the results of who wins, which I do think the interrogation shows Trump, and many of the polls are showing that too. And that's going to be very hard for a lot of people to swallow. And I would not be surprised if we see a lot of trouble. And again, we're seeing this in the world at large. I've been talking an awful lot in past podcasts about Uranus passing over the Pleiades, which is the seven sisters. And of course, these are very ancient legends that talk about how when every time Uranus passes over this, we get trouble in the world. And of course, I mentioned the last time it happened was World War II. Time before that was the Civil War. Time before that was the Revolutionary War. And we could keep leapfrogging back about every 80 to 85 years. It's somewhere between 84 and 86 years. It's not exact, but it's close to that. And we get a 7-year period where Uranus is passing through the sidereal sign of Taurus, which at the beginning is where the seven sisters are. Now, Uranus is retrograde right now, and it's going to station and go direct, and it's going to pass over all these stars again next spring. So this is not just going to blow away here. No matter who is president, we're going to see that, there's a lot of things brewing in the world. And of course, this election has a big effect on that. And I can tell you, we have a fixed star called Denebola that's going to be contacted right in the latter part of December. Now, why is that an issue? Well, we also have the third and final phase of the Pluto return on the United States right around the 29th, right before the first of the year of 2025. So we got a lot of energies stacking up here towards the end of the year into next. And of course, this election is a huge factor of it. Also, too, we just had Halloween go by, and there's many holidays that celebrate this. Yeah, and I can tell you one of the things the ancient Druids had talked about is this is where the astral planes get thin between the physical world and the astral planes. And that's why Halloween might have all the ghosts and the goblins and, that kind of stuff that goes on. Of course, we always see Dracula movies at this time of year, right? So, but the ancients knew that this was a time when spirituality was really close, or you could say the spiritual astral worlds were very close to the physical worlds. There's a Hindu holiday called Diwali, and very powerful. It's all about light and spirituality and, of course, redeeming ourselves, so on and so forth. And these ancient celebrations had a lot more truths of them than we might know, and it's correlatable to the celestial movements of the earth around the sun. And, of course, the new moon plays into that holiday. So this is a very powerful time right now. And, of course, the election year, this one, many people are saying this is a make or break on the United States. And isn't that funny? Pluto return. Just to remember, people might say, well, what does a Pluto return mean? Well, the Roman Empire survived 3 of them. The Roman Empire existed almost 750 years in total. And the first one, it was very divided. The second one, it went through a lot of trauma. And the third Pluto return, it was dissolved. So let's hope we survive this one with a very positive outcome, and we rebuild this country and stop the insanity that's been going on. So, and I think that's going to happen. I really do. Though I would say the owners at the top of the pyramid are not going to like the outcome of this election. And there again, we're seeing threats of World War III.
Hey, everybody, I want to talk to you about a troubling, really alarming issue. The war in Ukraine has brought us closer to the brink of nuclear exchange, and at any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962.
We just heard Putin mention that if the United States keeps backing Ukraine and putting long-range missiles that can hit deep into Russia, he's actually threatening the use of nuclear weapons. And again, I don't know how we'd feel if somebody was in Mexico, putting long-range missiles into here, just like how Israel feels and everyone else feels on all sides of the fence. So very powerful stuff. And we're going to see this really start brewing here as we come into spring, and hopefully it can be put to rest where we don't have some of the tumultuous wars that we've had in the past, because the weaponry we have right now, too many people would die. It would be very, very insane to have something like that happen. But again, I'm not so sure that the owners at the top of the pyramid don't want that. They seem to be very demonic in their behavior and the way that they act towards the human race. So we're going to see what happens here. This is a very, very powerful month. And again, we're going to see what the results of this election are right after the 5th, even though it may take a little bit longer. But I think it's going to be an interesting outcome. And, may you all have a good month. And I'm going to keep this a little bit brief because we're coming in with our lives and talking about this on a weekly basis. So, all right, well, have a good month. And remember, new moons are always a great time to plant seeds. Good time to meditate, set goals, and focus on what you want.